Maya's pulse raced as Ryan's lips moved against hers with desperate hunger, his hands tangling in her long dark hair as he pressed her against the brick wall of the university library. The late evening shadows wrapped around them like a secret, hiding them from the world that would never understand what they meant to each other. Maya, he breathed against her mouth, her name a prayer and a promise all at once. His green eyes were dark with desire, but underneath she saw something deeper, a vulnerability he never showed anyone else. She could taste the coffee on his lips, could smell his expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely him. Ryan's body was warm and solid against hers, every muscle defined from hours at the gym, every movement calculated and confident like everything else about him. "We shouldn't be doing this here," Maya whispered, even as her hands fisted in his leather jacket. "Someone might see us." "Let them," Ryan said fiercely, his thumb tracing her jawline with reverent gentleness. "I'm tired of hiding how I feel about you." Maya's heart clenched at the raw emotion in his voice. This was so different from the Ryan everyone else knew, the playboy who changed girlfriends like he changed clothes, who treated relationships like a game he always won. With her, he was real, vulnerable, completely different from his reputation. "You say that now," Maya said softly. "But what about tomorrow? What about when your friends see us together and remember that I'm just the scholarship girl from the wrong side of town?" Ryan's jaw tightened, and for a moment, Maya saw something flash in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or secrets he couldn't share. "You're not just anything, Maya. You're everything." Before she could respond, his lips claimed hers again, and Maya melted into him, despite her better judgment. This kiss was different, softer, more tender, like he was trying to tell her something he couldn't say out loud. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Ryan rested his forehead against hers. "Tell me again," he whispered. "Tell me how this all started." Maya smiled, her fingers tracing the strong line of his jaw. "You really want to hear it again?" "Always," Ryan said, his voice rough with emotion. "I want to remember every detail of the day you turned my world upside down." Maya's eyes fluttered closed as the memory washed over her, as vivid as if it had happened yesterday instead of 6 months ago. It was the first day of Professor Chen's literature class. Maya had been late that morning, rushing across campus with her second-hand backpack bouncing against her hip and her hair escaping from its ponytail. She'd worked a double shift at the diner the night before to help her mum with rent, and her ancient alarm clock had decided that morning was the perfect time to break. She slipped into the lecture hall just as Professor Chen was calling for attention, scanning the rows of seats for an empty spot. The class was packed. Contemporary American literature was a popular elective, and Maya felt that familiar pang of not belonging as she took in her classmates' designer clothes and expensive laptops. Then she saw him. Ryan Cross sat in the third row, surrounded by his usual crowd of admirers. He was devastatingly handsome in that effortless way some people were born with. Sharp jawline, thick dark hair that looked like he'd run his fingers through it, green eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore a simple black t-shirt that probably cost more than Maya's textbooks. Maya had heard about Ryan Cross before she'd ever seen him. Everyone had. He was campus royalty, the guy who threw the best parties, dated the prettiest girls, and somehow managed to maintain perfect grades despite seeming to care about nothing but having a good time. He was also completely out of her league. Maya found an empty seat in the back row, trying to make herself invisible as Professor Chen began discussing their semester project. She pulled out her worn notebook and started taking notes, determined to prove she belonged here, despite her scholarship status. "For your final project," Professor Chen was saying, "you'll be working in pairs to analyze the themes of class and social mobility in contemporary American fiction." Maya's stomach sank. Partner projects always meant the same thing, being stuck with whoever was left over after everyone else paired up with their friends. "I'll be assigning partners randomly," Professor Chen continued, and Maya relaxed slightly. Professor Chen began reading names from his list, and Maya half listened until she heard her own name called. "Maya Rodriguez, you'll be working with Ryan Cross." Maya's pen slipped from her fingers. She looked up to find Ryan turning in his seat, scanning the lecture hall until his eyes found hers. For a moment, they just stared at each other across the crowded room. After class, Maya packed her things slowly, hoping Ryan might forget about the assignment. She was almost to the door when a warm hand touched her shoulder. "Maya, right?" His voice was deeper than she'd expected. "I'm Ryan." "I know who you are," Maya said, then immediately regretted how that sounded. Ryan's smile was self-deprecating. Not always for the right reasons, I'm guessing. He studied her face with those sharp green eyes. "Look, I know you probably think I'm going to slack off and leave you to do all the work." "Are you?" Maya asked bluntly, earning a surprised laugh from him. "Honestly, I was planning to." Ryan's honesty caught her off guard. "But something tells me you won't let me get away with that." "You're right, I won't." Maya lifted her chin, meeting his gaze directly. "I need this grade, Ryan. I can't afford to fail because my partner thinks this class is a joke." Something shifted in Ryan's expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. "Fair enough. When do you want to meet?" "Tomorrow after class. The library has study rooms we can reserve." "The library," Ryan repeated, like the concept was foreign to him. "Right. Okay, Maya Rodriguez, you've got a deal." The next day, Maya arrived at the library early, claiming a small study room with a view of the quad. She spread her books across the table, determined to be prepared for whatever version of Ryan showed up. Ryan arrived exactly on time, carrying a leather messenger bag that probably cost more than Maya's monthly food budget. But instead of the casual clothes she'd expected, he wore dark jeans and a simple grey sweater that made his eyes look almost silver. "You look surprised," he said, settling into the chair across from her. "I wasn't sure you'd show up," Maya admitted. "I said I would, didn't I?" There was something almost hurt in his voice. "Most people in your social circle don't exactly have a reputation for reliability when it comes to academic work." Ryan was quiet for a moment, studying her with those intense green eyes. "And what social circle do you think I'm in exactly?" Maya felt heat creep up her neck. "I just meant, you know, the popular crowd, the party people. The rich kids who don't care about anything but having fun." Ryan's voice was neutral, but Maya caught an edge underneath. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Ryan opened his bag and pulled out several books, all of them looking well read and annotated. "Here's what I'm thinking for our project focus." For the next 2 hours, Maya watched a completely different Ryan emerge. He was intelligent, not just smart, but genuinely thoughtful about literature and social issues. He'd clearly done extensive reading beyond their syllabus, and his insights into class dynamics in American fiction were sophisticated and nuanced. "You've really thought about this," Maya said as he outlined his analysis. "You sound surprised," Ryan said, echoing her words from earlier. "I am surprised," Maya admitted. You thought I was just a pretty face with a trust fund," Ryan finished, but his tone wasn't bitter, just resigned. "I'm sorry. That wasn't fair." Ryan shrugged. "Most people make the same assumption. It's easier sometimes, letting them think that's all there is." "Easier how?" For a moment, Ryan looked like he might answer. Then his expression shuttered, and he was back to being charming and untouchable. "We should probably focus on the project." Over the following weeks, their library meetings became the highlight of Maya's week. Ryan was always on time, always prepared, and consistently brilliant in ways that surprised her. But more than that, he was kind, remembering details about her life, asking about her classes, treating her like her opinions mattered. Slowly, Maya began to see past his reputation. Yes, Ryan was popular and wealthy, but he was also thoughtful and funny in a dry, unexpected way. He made observations about their classmates and professors that had Maya stifling laughter, and he listened to her ideas with genuine interest. "You know," Ryan said during their 4th meeting, "you're not at all what I expected either." "What did you expect?" Maya asked, looking up from her notes. "Someone intimidating, honestly. You have this reputation for being incredibly smart and completely focused on your studies." "That's because I have to be," Maya said without thinking, then immediately regretted the admission. "Because of your scholarship?" Ryan asked gently. Maya nodded, feeling exposed. I can't afford to mess around. This education is my way out. Out of what? Maya hesitated, then found herself telling Ryan about her life, her single mother working 2 jobs, their tiny apartment, the pressure to succeed that kept her awake at night. She'd never shared so much with anyone, especially not someone from Ryan's world. That's incredible, Ryan said when she finished. What you're doing, what you've accomplished. It's incredible. It's just survival, Maya said. No, it's not. It's strength. Ryan's voice was soft but certain. You're the strongest person I know. Something in his tone made Maya look up, and for a moment she saw something raw and vulnerable in his eyes. But before she could ask about it, Ryan's phone buzzed with a text. I have to go, he said, checking the message. But Maya, thank you for telling me about your life. It means more than you know. After he left, Maya sat in the empty study room, trying to figure out what was happening between them. This felt like more than partnership, more than friendship. Their next meeting was different. Ryan seemed distracted, checking his phone frequently and looking toward the library windows like he was expecting someone. Everything okay? Maya asked. Fine, Ryan said quickly. Just family stuff. But it wasn't fine. Throughout their session, Maya caught glimpses of tension in Ryan's shoulders, worry in his eyes when he thought she wasn't looking. Ryan? What's wrong? Maya asked. Nothing I can't handle. His smile was practiced, charming, the same one he used with everyone else. Don't worry about it. I am worried about it, Maya said, surprising them both. I'm worried about you. Ryan went very still, his green eyes searching her face like he was looking for something specific. You shouldn't be. Why not? Because you don't really know me, Maya. The real me. Then tell me, she said softly. Tell me who you really are. For a moment, Ryan looked like he might. His mouth opened, and Maya saw the war playing out in his expression, the desire to confess warring with the need to protect whatever secret he was keeping. Then his phone buzzed again, and the moment shattered. I have to go, Ryan said, already standing. Can we finish this tomorrow? Ryan, wait. But he was already gone, leaving Maya alone with her questions and a growing certainty that Ryan Cross was hiding something much bigger than she'd realized. The next day, Ryan didn't show up to their scheduled meeting, or the day after that. Maya waited in the study room, checking her phone and watching the door, but he never appeared. In class, Ryan sat with his usual crowd, charming and untouchable, like their weeks of connection had never happened. When Maya tried to catch his eye, he looked right through her. It hurt more than it should have. They were just project partners, nothing more. But it felt like a rejection of everything they'd shared. Maya threw herself into the project alone, determined to prove she didn't need Ryan Cross or anyone else. But late at night, working on their presentation by herself, she couldn't stop thinking about the vulnerability she'd seen in his eyes. 3 days before their presentation was due, Maya was leaving the library when she found Ryan waiting by her car, her ancient, dented Honda that looked even more pathetic next to his sleek black sports car. Maya, he said, pushing off from her car as she approached. We need to talk. Now you want to talk. Maya's voice was sharper than she'd intended. After ignoring me for a week. I know you're angry. I'm not angry, Ryan. I'm disappointed. Maya fumbled with her car keys. I thought we were friends. I thought you were different from your reputation. But I was wrong. You weren't wrong, Ryan said quietly. And we are friends. That's the problem. Maya turned to face him, studying his expression in the parking lot's fluorescent lighting. He looked tired, stressed in a way that went deeper than missed assignments. What does that mean? Ryan ran his hand through his hair. It means my life is complicated in ways you can't imagine. It means getting close to me puts you in danger. Danger? Maya almost laughed. Ryan, what are you talking about? The kind that comes from being associated with someone like me. Someone like you? Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Maya waited, sensing that whatever he was about to tell her would change everything between them. My name isn't really Ryan Cross, he said finally. It's Ryan Blackwood. Maya blinked, the name hitting her like a physical blow. Blackwood, as in Blackwood Industries, one of the most powerful corporate dynasties in the country, as in the family whose business dealings were constantly in the news, whose wealth was legendary, whose influence reached into every corner of politics and society. Maya's voice came out as a whisper. You're a Blackwood. The youngest son, Ryan confirmed, his voice flat. The disappointment, the one they sent away to get a normal college experience, while my older brothers learned to run the empire. Maya stared at him, trying to reconcile this information with the Ryan she knew. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to be normal for once in my life, Ryan said desperately. Because I wanted someone to see me for who I am, not what my family name represents. But Ryan, the Blackwood name comes with enemies, Maya. Business rivals, people who've been hurt by our company's decisions, others who see us as symbols of everything wrong with wealth inequality. Ryan's voice was urgent now, pleading. I've had bodyguards since I was 12. I've had people try to kidnap me for ransom, threaten me to get to my family. That's why I've been avoiding you, because getting close to you puts you at risk. Maya felt like the ground was shifting beneath her feet. You're telling me you're some kind of secret heir? I'm telling you I'm the third son of one of the most hated families in America, Ryan said bitterly. I'm telling you that people have died because they were associated with us. I'm telling you that caring about you is the most dangerous thing I could do. And what if I don't care about the danger? Maya asked, surprised by her own boldness. Ryan's eyes widened. Maya, what if I care more about the person you are than the family you come from? She stepped closer, watching his carefully controlled expression start to crack. What if I've been falling for the real Ryan, not some image or reputation? You don't understand? Then help me understand, Maya said firmly. Stop making decisions for me about what I can handle. Stop protecting me from choices I should get to make myself. For a moment, they stood in the parking lot staring at each other, the weight of unspoken feelings heavy between them. Maya could see the war in Ryan's eyes, the desire to reach for her warring with the fear of what that might cost. There's more, Ryan said quietly. Things about my family, about why I really came to this school, about why I have to pretend to be someone I'm not. Tell me, Maya said simply. Ryan looked around the empty parking lot, then stepped closer to her. Not here. It's not safe to talk about this in public. Then where? My apartment. It's secure, private. Ryan hesitated. But Maya, if I tell you everything, there's no going back. You'll be involved in something bigger than you realize. Maya thought about her quiet life, her simple goals, her plan to graduate and get a good job and help her mother. She thought about the danger Ryan was hinting at, the complications that came with his world. Then she thought about the way he'd looked at her in the library, the vulnerability he'd shown her, the connection they'd built despite all the reasons it shouldn't work. I'm already involved, she said softly. I'm already falling for you, Ryan. The question is whether you're brave enough to let me. Ryan's apartment was nothing like Maya had expected. Instead of the flashy penthouse she'd imagined, it was a modest two-bedroom in a quiet complex near campus. The furniture was comfortable, but not ostentatious, the walls decorated with books and art that showed thoughtful taste, rather than expensive acquisitions. This isn't what you were expecting, Ryan said, watching her take in the space. No, it's not, Maya admitted. It's normal. Nice normal. I wanted a place where I could just be myself, Ryan said. Somewhere the Blackwood. He moved to the kitchen, putting on a pot of coffee with practiced ease. Maya settled on his couch, noting the stack of well-worn books on the coffee table, philosophy, literature, social theory. This was the Ryan she'd come to know in the library. So tell me, Maya said as Ryan joined her with 2 steaming mugs. Tell me everything. Ryan was quiet for a long moment, staring into his coffee. My family owns Blackwood Industries, defense contracts, private security, political consulting. We're the people politicians call when they need problems to disappear quietly. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of problems? The kind that involve money, power, and influence. the kind that sometimes require creative solutions. Ryan's voice was carefully neutral, but Maya caught the distaste underneath. My father built the company on the principle that everyone has a price. Everything can be bought or sold, and loyalty is just another commodity. And you don't agree with that philosophy. I hate everything our family represents, Ryan said fiercely. The corruption, the manipulation, the way we use money as a weapon. But I'm still a Blackwood, still expected to play my part when the time comes. What part is that? Ryan set down his coffee and looked directly at her. In 2 years, when I graduate, I'm supposed to join the company, take my place in the family business, marry someone from an approved family who can bring political or business connections. Maya's stomach clenched. Someone approved. Someone who understands the game. Someone who can be trusted with family secrets. Someone whose loyalty can be guaranteed. Ryan's smile was bitter. Someone nothing like you. I see. Maya tried to keep her voice steady, but the words stung more than she'd expected. No, you don't see, Ryan said urgently, moving closer to her on the couch. Maya, you're everything I want and everything I can't have. You're honest and genuine and beautiful, and being with you makes me remember who I wanted to be before I understood what being a Blackwood really meant. But my family doesn't give up control easily. They've invested too much in my education, in positioning me for my role in the company. If they thought someone was influencing me to reject my destiny— Ryan's voice trailed off. They'd eliminate the influence, Maya finished quietly. They'd eliminate the threat, Ryan confirmed. And Maya, in their eyes, you'd be a threat. Maya absorbed this information, trying to process the full scope of what Ryan was telling her. She'd thought she was falling for a playboy with commitment issues. Instead, she was falling for someone trapped in a web of family obligation and dangerous expectations. What if we kept it secret? She heard herself ask. What if we were careful? Ryan's eyes flashed with hope before reality crashed back in. Maya, I can't ask you to live like that. Always looking over your shoulder, always wondering if you're safe. You deserve better than stolen moments and hidden feelings. What if I think you're worth the risk? You don't understand what you'd be risking, Ryan said desperately. These aren't just business rivals or jealous ex-girlfriends. My family has connections to people who solve problems permanently. Maya felt her blood chill, but she forced herself to stay calm. Are you telling me your family would actually hurt me? I'm telling you they'd do whatever they thought was necessary to protect their interests, Ryan said quietly. And I'm telling you I can't live with myself if something happened to you because of me. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the situation settling between them. Maya understood now why Ryan had been pulling away, why he'd seemed so conflicted. What if there was another way? Maya asked finally. What do you mean? What if you didn't have to choose? What if there was a way to be with me without putting me in danger? Ryan looked at her with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Maya, you can't outsmart a family like mine. Maybe, Maya said, moving closer to him on the couch. But they've also been underestimating people like me for generations, people who have nothing to lose and everything to fight for. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we're smarter than they think. I'm suggesting we find a way to be together that doesn't threaten their precious family business. Maya took his hands in hers, feeling their warmth, their strength. I'm suggesting we write our own ending to this story. Ryan stared at her for a long moment, and Maya could see the internal battle playing out in his expression, fear warring with hope, duty battling desire. You're talking about going up against one of the most powerful families in the country, he said softly. I'm talking about fighting for something real in a world full of artificial things, Maya replied. I'm talking about choosing love over fear. And if we lose? Maya smiled, squeezing his hands gently. Then at least we'll lose together. Ryan brought their joined hands to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. You're incredible, do you know that? Completely fearless and absolutely incredible. I'm terrified, Maya admitted, but I'm more terrified of losing you than I am of facing your family. They'll try to buy you off first, Ryan said quietly. Offer you money to disappear. Probably more money than you've ever imagined. And when that doesn't work, they'll try to discredit you, dig up everything they can about your past, your family, use it against you. Maya thought about her mother's struggles, their financial hardships, the choices they'd made just to survive. Let them look. I'm not ashamed of where I come from. They'll make you ashamed, Ryan said grimly. They'll twist everything, make it look ugly and desperate. Ryan, Maya said firmly, waiting until he met her eyes. I've been poor my entire life. I've worked since I was 14 to help pay rent. I've eaten ramen for dinner more nights than I can count, because we couldn't afford anything else. You think your family can shame me with the truth of my life? Ryan's expression softened, and Maya saw something that looked like awe in his eyes. No, I don't think they can. Then we have a chance, Maya said, because they're going to underestimate me just like everyone else does. They're going to see a poor girl from the wrong side of town and assume I can be bought or scared away. And what happens when they realize they're wrong? Then we better have a plan. They spent the next few hours talking through possibilities, obstacles, potential solutions. Ryan knew his family's methods, their weaknesses, their blind spots. Maya brought a perspective they wouldn't expect, someone who understood surviving with limited resources, who knew how to be strategic when you couldn't afford mistakes. There's something else, Ryan said as they worked on their fourth cup of coffee. About why I'm really here at this school. Maya looked up from the notes they'd been making. You mean there's more? My father didn't send me here for a normal college experience. He sent me here to recruit someone. Recruit someone for what? There's a professor here, Dr. Elizabeth Chen. She's been researching new applications for technology that could revolutionize private security. My father wants me to convince her to work exclusively with Blackwood Industries. Maya felt pieces clicking into place. Professor Chen, our literature professor. Her husband is Dr. David Chen from the engineering department. She's been consulting on his projects. Ryan ran his hand through his hair. My whole academic schedule was designed around getting close to her, earning her trust. And our project partnership? Complete coincidence. Which is probably the only reason I let myself get close to you. Ryan's smile was rueful. If my father had known I'd meet someone like you, he never would have sent me here. Maya absorbed this new information. So your family thinks you're here doing their bidding, but really you're falling for someone who represents everything they'd hate. Pretty much. And Professor Chen has no idea she's being targeted. None at all. Maya was quiet for a moment, thinking through the implications. Ryan, what if we turned this around? What if we used your family's plan against them? What do you mean? I mean, what if instead of just trying to hide our relationship, we found a way to make it useful to them? What if we made me an asset instead of a threat? Ryan's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. You're thinking like them now. I'm thinking like someone who's had to be strategic to survive, Maya corrected. Your family respects power and utility. What if I became both? How? Maya smiled, feeling the pieces of a plan forming in her mind. Professor Chen likes me. I'm one of her top students, and she's been encouraging me to consider graduate school. What if I became your inside connection to her? Maya, that would put you directly in my family's crosshairs. They'd see you as an employee, someone they could control. Or someone they needed to keep happy, Maya countered. Someone whose loyalty was worth maintaining. Ryan stared at her for a long moment, and Maya could practically see him working through the possibilities. It could work, he said slowly, but it would be incredibly dangerous. You'd be walking into their world, playing by their rules. But I'd be playing with their cards, using their game against them, Maya pointed out. And I'd have you on the inside, helping me navigate. And if they figure out what we're really doing? Maya reached over and took his hands again, feeling the calluses from his workouts, the warmth that had become so familiar. Then we faced the consequences together. But Ryan, I'd rather risk everything fighting for us than spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been. Ryan was quiet for a long time, staring at their joined hands. When he finally looked up, his green eyes were bright with determination. Okay, he said, let's do it. Let's beat them at their own game. Really? Really? Ryan lifted their joined hands and kissed her knuckles again. "But Maya, promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if things get too dangerous, if my family becomes a real threat to you, you'll walk away. Promise me you won't sacrifice your safety for my happiness." Maya looked into his eyes, seeing the fear there, the love, the desperate need to protect her, even as he agreed to let her into his dangerous world. "I promise," she said, "but only if you promise me the same thing. Promise me you won't sacrifice your happiness for my safety." Ryan's smile was soft, genuine, completely different from the charming mask he wore for everyone else. Deal. As he leaned forward to kiss her, Maya realized they were crossing a line there was no coming back from. They were choosing each other despite the obstacles, despite the danger, despite all the logical reasons they should walk away. But as Ryan's lips met hers, as she felt the rightness of being in his arms, Maya knew she was making the right choice. Some things were worth fighting for, worth risking everything to protect. And Ryan Blackwood, not the heir, not the secret young master, but the man who'd shown her his real self in a library study room, was definitely worth the fight. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Ryan rested his forehead against hers, just like he had against the library wall where this conversation had started. "So," he whispered, his voice rough with emotion and desire, "ready to take on one of the most powerful families in America?" Maya smiled, her hands fisting in his shirt, the same way they had in her memory. "With you? I'm ready for anything. Even if it means pretending to be someone you're not." "Ryan," Maya said, looking directly into his green eyes, "I've been pretending to be someone I'm not my entire life. I've pretended that I don't want more than survival, that I don't dream of a different world, that I don't deserve love that sees all of me and chooses to stay." She kissed him softly, tasting coffee and possibility and the promise of a future they would build together. "The difference is," she whispered against his lips, "now I get to pretend with someone who knows exactly who I really am, and that makes all the difference in the world." Outside Ryan's apartment, the campus was settling into evening quiet, students heading back to dorms and apartments, unaware that in one modest two-bedroom unit, two people were plotting to rewrite the rules of power, family, and love. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, careful strategies, and the beginning of the most dangerous game either of them had ever played. But tonight was theirs. Just Ryan and Maya, finally honest with each other, finally ready to fight for something real in a world that preferred beautiful lies.